The following program is brought to you by Jack Miller.
It's Down to Business with Jack Miller. Forget what they teach you in school. This is real life, not Wall Street, but Main Street. A real show on what's really involved with starting and running a business with all the ups and downs. Our guests will answer your questions and provide you with valuable information. Stay tuned and join in the conversation.
Again, we appreciate it, and we know that time is really the most valuable thing and the only thing of value on this earth. So by you tuning in, it shows your value and how much you appreciate us, and we appreciate it. Chad, a bunch more questions for you. What do you think about employment agreements? I have someone come work for me. Should I have them sign an agreement, and what should the agreement say if I should?
I mean, again, it depends on what the position is. You're not going to have, every guy who's cutting grass basically filling out an employment agreement. But if you got someone who's going to get some private information of yours, confidential information from yours, you definitely want to protect that. I mean, you don't want them running next door and opening up their own business, taking all your business away. So you got to have something, in writing that prevents them from doing that. Courts generally enforce that stuff, but again, just use common judgment. You don't want to do it for everybody. It scares off some employees for the most part, and really isn't necessary for every position.
So if an employee has access to confidential information, I would assume they would sign a confidentiality agreement. The same thing if salespeople, if you're paying a salesperson, maybe they should sign a restrictive covenant? Yeah,
I mean, that's what they're there for. That's why they have them, because they don't want you being afraid to disclose your confidential information. So, you got to have something in place there that prevents from doing it. But you can't be unreasonable. I mean, you can't be like, you can't work for the next 10 years in this industry over the United States of America. It's got to be reasonable in time and scope. So, usually it depends on your business. If you work primarily in Broward, you say it's for Broward County. If you work, the Tri-County, you say the 3 counties. But the more reasonable you are, the more likely it gets upheld.
So what's standard, like 10, 15, 20 miles from the office in a 2-year
period?
It
all depends. Look, like I said,
that?
You do a lot of business throughout the state of Florida. You could have an argument that you want the whole state of Florida covered. It all depends on your business, where you operate, and that's kind of how they go get it.
Gotcha. A couple other issues. Talk to me about overtime. I had a case, and I'll tell you, it was a real live case, and this happened like 15 years ago. We had a mortgage underwriter who was working. Instead of the 40 hours, she would come in at like 7 in the morning, stay till 8 at night, work like a dog. We paid her bonus, and we knew at the time she had a little bit of a rocky relationship with her husband. Turns out we fired her, 6 months, a year later, for I forget what the reason. She made a case for us that we didn't pay her overtime. And what really happened was it came out, we obviously fought it, but it came out her husband was beating her up, and she was kind of just staying in the office.
The overtime laws, I can only tell you, are the best laws for employees. And, it's really exploded over the last probably 15 or so years. We in South Florida are the number one district of all federal courts of overtime lawsuits that are filed. And it's based upon the fact that they make these laws so favorable to the employee that you don't have to do, like you said, in that case, she doesn't have to do anything. All she has to do is make that allegation that she's staying there for those hours. She could be, surfing on the internet the whole time. She could be sleeping. It doesn't matter. If she makes the allegation that she's there, you're responsible to pay her for all that time, over 40 hours a week, and it does add up over time.
And is it time and a half, or you can pay just regular wages?
No, time and a half. Anything over 40 is time and a half. Now, there are a lot of exemptions. I mean, they got some crazy exemptions out there. If you work in a movie theater or you work in a farm, they got all these crazy exemptions out there. But at the end of the day, realistically, the smartest thing to do is if you have an employee, you want to try to make sure you document their time and you pay them their overtime. Because if not, like I said, you get caught like that position Jack was in, and you really are.
It's crazy.
Hamstrung.
Yeah, someone would be working hard, putting in extra time, extra effort to get the job done, and you have to tell them to go home.
Yeah.
Or don't do the job.
Yeah. And if they stay and you accept their work, you got to pay them for it.
Time and a half. That's great.
Time and a half. That's what it is. And not only that, if you get sued, not only you got to pay them the time and a half, you got to pay what's the penalty, which is the double amount. So now you're paying basically, 3 times what they're supposed to be getting paid, plus their attorney's fees. I mean, it's crazy. Really, the way the law is situated, You got to be careful as an employer.
It's not easy to be self-employed, and this is what's hurting America. But again, not the overtime laws, the over-regulation and the undue burden coming from all areas on employees.
Yeah, but you know what? There is a flip side to that coin. I mean, there are a lot of companies that just try to sneak around it. They'll put someone as a 1099. They'll put someone on a salary. I mean, and just do whatever they can to avoid the overtime law. So it does kind of work both ways. I think there's people who take advantage of the system as employees, but there's also employers who try to cut corners wherever they can.
So how does overtime work? Is it only for salaried people, or is it for wage earner people? Like if I would hire someone and pay them $20 an hour, or if I hire someone and let's say pay them, 25, 30, if I pay someone $30,000 a year, do they get overtime? Would they get overtime?
I mean, that's like an hour conversation we can have, and it's a horrible conversation because it goes in all these exemptions and all these ridiculous, elements that go into it. But the main thing to know is if you're paying someone hourly, overtime automatically applies. If you're paying someone salary, they got to be like a higher up employee. They got to be someone who's doing important stuff. They got to be someone who's managerial or somewhat executive style. You can't just I can't go to Publix and pay the guy who's bagging the groceries a salary and not pay him overtime. It's got to be very, broken down to the kind of position you're dealing with there.
Now, gotcha. It's brutal. What about commission-only guys? Is it okay, and can I get in trouble if I find someone and say, look, I'll pay you, let's say auto sales or, I don't know, real estate sales or mortgage sales or whatever, commission-only? Do I have to pay them minimum wage or an hourly?
That's another good one, but that comes down to if they're making commissions. I mean, if the guy makes zero money in commissions, you still have to pay him at least minimum wages. And you can even do it as a draw, so you kind of pay the draw money first, and you can collect that off the commissions that are paid later. But you got to put something in the person's pocket. You can't have someone essentially working for you on a full commission basis, and they don't make any money for 6 months. I mean, that's kind of where you get in trouble. So
there really is no such thing as commission only. You have to pay a minimum wage. In that case, if it's sales, do you have to pay the overtime as well?
You would, yeah.
Holy moly!
Got to factor in how much they make times the hours they make. Now there are exemptions again that apply. There's outside sales exemptions, so it's not everybody, but again, that's why you have. Basically lawyers out there because we try to tell you when you can and cannot collect it or whether you're in trouble for not paying it or not. But every case is different, but there's a ton of them. And we say this, every company has either been sued for overtime or at some point is going to be sued for overtime. It's just not, it's not a surprise when it happens.
Crazy.
Yeah.
So does an company's employer, have to give a certain amount of required days off, like personal days and vacation days?
No. That's all benefit stuff. I mean, I get calls. Can't even tell you how many times I get a call. They didn't pay my vacation. They didn't give me my hour lunch break. None of that stuff matters. The courts are not there to make sure you have the most perfect job in the world. You want to go work at a job where they're not giving you off for any days or there's no holiday pay or anything like that. You want that job? That's your job. You don't want it, the court's going to tell you go get another job. So no real benefits are enforceable or if they're not paid or illegal, anything like that.
Bottom line, companies have to be careful. And I think what companies need to do is they need to reach out to a guy like you, to be honest with you, to review, I would think, their employment policies to keep them from getting in hot water before it's too late.
How would they do that, Jack?
You got to be preventive in this stuff. Like I said, it's going to happen at some point. You just want to make sure you do whatever you can so if it does happen, and when it does happen, you're covered as well as possible.
Chad, a perfect time. Why don't you give your contact information for people to contact you?
Yeah, absolutely. It's 954-763-5722 is our phone number. And like I said, we are based out of Fort Lauderdale, but any issues that are really anywhere in the state of Florida, we handle.
What's the name of your firm?
What's your name, sorry?
What's the name of your firm if people are doing
this? Levy and Levy.
Chad, you're leaving one important fact out, that you promised Todd and I that if anyone calls you because they were let go because they're too hot or too sexy, Todd and I can
he's going right to you. To you guys.
Well, we don't know.
That.
We'll screw up the legal case, but we'll be the arbiter of whether they're hot or not hot.
Right.
All right.
Jack?
I'll definitely keep that in mind. I'll swing it by you guys first, get your opinion.
Yeah, we'll stop by your office. We can just sit in your waiting room or your conference room and just pretend to be
there you go.
maintenance guys.
It is a good quality to have. You guys can.
In his next life, Jack is going to come back as a judge on a reality show. There's no doubt in my mind. He loves to evaluate people.
That's top-rated show right there, no doubt.
Yeah, right. Chad, we only have a few minutes left. What am I missing that employees and employers should know? What calls do you get commonly that I didn't touch on, that message you want to put out there?
You know what I think one of the ones we didn't really get touched on it, but it's crazy and it's been happening a lot is pregnancy. There's a lot of legislation even going on about possibly giving a certain amount of time off for pregnancy and whatnot, because that is the one case where you get a pregnancy case. You're going to lose that. 9 out of 10 times you're going to lose the pregnancy case. Everybody can relate to a pregnant woman. Everybody feels bad for a pregnant woman, likes a pregnant woman, doesn't want to see them, everything they're going through now, also lose their jobs. So, the pregnancy stuff you're going to probably see a lot of over the next few years, and laws probably helping out those kind of employees. And
isn't it true that we have a horrible, horrible track record in America of maternity leave and even paternity leave?
Yeah. Oh, I mean, there is none. Essentially, unless you're a big company and you've had a long-term employee, there is none. I can go work for a company that's got 35, 40 employees. If I get pregnant, they don't have to give me anything. So it's crazy. It's really unfair to, like I said, a lot of the pregnant women out there. Makes them have to decide, do I want to have a baby? Do I want to stay at work? But, that's something we do need to see change, definitely.
So what do you recommend? An employer giving a pregnant woman, I don't know, how many weeks or months?
Yeah, well, the law is, if it's, like I said, it's a big company, you get 3 months off, which is the standard time. Now, that does put a lot of companies at stress, but, there's a medium between what the law permits, which is 50 or more employees, which is a big company. If you have 30 employees, you can cover if someone's out for 3 months or, I mean, I understand if there's 3 employees or 2 employees, that's one thing, but there's got to be something in the middle to help protect those women because, like I said, it's hard enough. I've seen my wife go through it. I mean, I don't know how they do it. I can't imagine having to deal with the stress from work and losing your job and all that stuff at the same time, so.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
We have to break in another minute, and I really want to thank you for your time out of your busy schedule. This was very useful, and again, everyone should talk to a guy like you just to prevent it. Chad, can you give out your contact information one more time before we go to a break?
Yeah, sure. Again, Chad Levy, 954-763-5722. Feel free to give us a call if you have any questions about anything. We can help out. We'd be glad to help out. And thanks again, guys. Appreciate you having me on.
Chad, thank you very much. You're very, very helpful. And don't forget, if in case anyone comes to see you who's too hot and sexy, call Todd and I. We'll help you out.
Thanks, Chad.
Already noted, guys. Already noted.
Okay, thanks, Chad. Everyone else, we'll be back in 2 minutes. Thank you very much.
Don't turn that dial. We will be right back.